also investing in yourself. So this might scare some people, but I invested over $30,000 in myself in training and mentorships and self-development, books, audios, everything. And I think it's a scary thing for people, especially when you think about that number. It was for me at first,
Yeah.
but then it will pay off tremendously for you in the future if you just invest in yourself first.
Transaction Care, the podcast. Welcome home to the #1 real estate show on the market. I am your host and resident care coordinator, Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily. My goal with each episode of Transaction Care is to demystify the business of real estate from my point of view and interviews from other voices within the real estate industry around the world. I'm giving you the keys. There are no gatekeepers here. Head to transactioncarepodcast.com to join my TC community and to be sure you are subscribed to Transaction Care, the podcast, so you know exactly when new episodes are released weekly. Welcome back to another episode of the Transaction Care podcast. My name is Lily, like the flower, because we are learning and growing together. First of all, I want to say thank you to all those tuning in, that tune in weekly. Collaborations and connections like this are honestly what keep me going. And the main reason I started this show is to continue to just show up and giving you guys a better understanding of business, real estate, and the different aspects of this world and how to get in it. And my guest today is a prime example of that journey. And I'm very excited to connect with her and to talk to her and hear her journey and for her to share her journey and to hopefully inspire someone else out there with similar passions and interest in this industry. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you guys to Grace Wilson. So Grace Wilson is a logistics and management professional based in Seattle, Washington, with an impressive career spanning over 24 years in logistics and management. With her extensive experience, she has honed her skills in management, team leadership, and strategic planning. Aside from her successful career in logistics and management, Grace is also a passionate real estate investor, having discovered her interest in multifamily real estate investing in just a year ago. She has already invested in over 50 doors in just 4 months. I can't wait to hear about that. From being introduced to this whole industry. So she's working alongside a high performance team, CS3 Investments, committed to reaching their $1 billion assets under management goal within 5 years. But beyond that, she is most passionate about sharing this great opportunity with people who are wanting to build generational wealth, legacy for them and their families. I love that. 2 keywords that I'm excited to talk about and break down with you. So let's get into it. So at the beginning of your journey in real estate, having invested over 50 doors, first of all, that is impressive. So shout out to you for doing that. And in just a year, having gotten started doing that. So I just want to celebrate you and give you props for that. But I want to know, how did you get into real estate? Was this something you planned? Like, at this point in in life, I'm going to get into real estate. Were you influenced by somebody, inspired by somebody? Please just break down that process, how you got into real estate.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks so much for inviting me here. I'm honored to be on your show, so I appreciate it so much. Yeah, so my journey, it's all started with a thought. I thought about real estate when I was younger, didn't really think too much of it. My uncle, my mom's brother, was in real estate. He had fourplex, apartments, houses. But I never asked him any questions, right? Because
Right.
growing up, it was like, you listen and you don't ask questions. You just do what you're
Do what
told,
you're
right?
told.
Yeah. So I just never really understood that. And the opportunity was brought to me by one of my dear friends, James Katina. And he basically called me about a business opportunity. It wasn't real estate, about business opportunity. And I almost said no, right? And because I didn't understand business too much back then. And this was what, in 2020.
Wow.
Yeah, in
Long
2020.
ago.
So if I didn't take that phone call and take that leap of faith and answer his call, I probably wouldn't be here today.
Wow.
So that phone call led to that business, and then eventually I met our mentor, who is Carlos Aguero, and he basically is the one who just opened this whole this whole opportunity of and opened my eyes to this whole new world of entrepreneurship and also to multifamily real estate investing. So long story short, because I could go forever,
No, go
but
go for it.
yeah,
Go for it.
long
It's
story
all
short,
yours.
okay. This was in 2022 in July. So him and James Cantina went to a multifamily real estate summit. They came back and shared some information with me and asked me if I wanted to invest in multifamily with them. And so I didn't really understand the whole concept or not. And so I was advised to go to a real estate summit in December, learn about how to acquire these deals, what's a good investment, just start there, educate myself, and then come back to them and let them know if that deal that they're presenting to me was a good deal or not. So instead of just handing over, taking my money right away, they're advising me, no, go here,
Right.
educate, learn, and then come back and let us know. So December 2022 was my very first introduction to multifamily real estate investing. Yeah. So I when I went to my first conference, I was like, wow, I couldn't unsee the numbers,
Oh,
what multifamily could do
I
for
believe
you.
it.
So one deal can literally change your whole life, basically, or just give you an idea of what this could do for you and your family and other people that you share this opportunity with. So, like I said, from December to March was my very first time I was the first time I'm sorry, that was December 2021. And then March 2022 is
Right.
when I invested in my first multifamily real estate, which is
Wow.
yeah, 58 doors. That's why I said I invested in 50 doors. So it's a 58 unit, mixed unit, A-class property, beautiful, has commercial as well. It's in Tennessee, and I absolutely love it because it's an asset you can touch.
Right.
It's real, it's tangible. People need place to live. So that's
Right.
that's how I got into my first deal. I became a passive investor.
That's amazing. Wow. I'm already inspired. We're like 5 minutes into
Oh,
this conversation.
that's right.
So I love that because I started my journey, I started my business 5 years ago. And a year before I ventured out on my own, similar to you, it was just taking that one phone call.
Mhm.
And in the midst of me taking that phone call of someone wanting to hire me as I'm a transaction coordinator, I was like, that imposter syndrome, everything was going through my mind, like, no, don't do it. It's against the rules. Like, but something told me just to take that leap of faith and to go for it. So prior to you taking that call, like you said, you know, because you didn't have the information, you're probably a little nervous, maybe intimidated. What did you do mentally to prepare for that moment? To not just take the call, but to continue on, right?
Oh yeah.
Because I know how difficult it can be to say yes to yourself and to our purpose or our path, whatever it is, or if you believe in God, like whatever our calling is for this, our time here, right? So yeah, how did you mentally prepare or just prepare in general for such a new challenge in your life?
Yeah, I would say the one thing definitely, just having faith, you
Yes.
know, having belief, putting God first, of course, first. And just what I know that helped me was to work on my mindset.
Right.
So I believe that if I didn't work on my mindset or myself, I would not be able to handle where I'm at right now,
Exactly.
and brought me to this place. And we have to continue to educate ourselves. There's Once you're at a certain place, we're never going to stop learning. we're just going to keep going and learning. That way we can, the more we grow, the more we can share with other people over what we know and what we learn. And so mindset is definitely is very important to me. Also investing in yourself. So this might scare some people, but I invested over $30,000 in myself in training, in mentorships, in self-development, books, audios, everything. And I think it's a scary thing for people, especially when they think about that number. It was for me at first,
Yeah.
but then it will pay off tremendously for you in the future if you just invest in yourself first. So yeah, I mindset.
That is such a great point. I love that thank you for being transparent with the number because you're right. And we'll get into money and, financial literacy and all that stuff further into this conversation. So definitely stay tuned. But it goes back to us growing up with similar cultures, right? And just that mindset of you do what you're told. But fast forward to us, the resources that we have available to us are just unlimited. And the fact that you chose to spend the money, because investing in yourself is so important. That's one of the messages that I preach all the time. And, it may not require $30,000. It may require even just $30 where you go buy a book that changes your life. You know what I mean? Or you just do something completely opposite of what you've been doing and just take yourself out of that same motion.
Right.
So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Mindset is so important. It's important. And I think people don't realize that it takes that much work. And if you're willing to spend as well alongside of it, it's going to accelerate that process even more. And as well as having faith in yourself and also just self-belief and self-love and all of that, building that strength and that muscle in yourself. And if it takes spending that much money, I agree with you, it's well worth it. Because over the last 5 years, I probably have spent just as much and didn't know it.
Yeah.
It may not have been a lump sum, but it's just over
Right.
time. I would easily say in 5 years, because I have a coach, I have programs apps and things like that, books that I've invested in, programs, continued education. So along this process, did you have a coach? Do you have a coach, mentor? I know you mentioned James Katina of the Katinas. It's
Yeah.
not it's not
Yeah.
it's not a common last name. So
Yeah. Everybody. Yes. I know. Yeah, it is. So James Coutina led me to my mentor, who is Carlos Salguero.
got it.
And I respect both men just as equal. And Carlos Salguero, basically, he has helped me mentally, physically, spiritually, financially. And when I look into a mentor now, because I didn't know, when I first started this journey, what do I look into a mentor, right? What do I need in a mentor? I didn't understand that part. But
Right.
now I know you want to find somebody that you align with in vision. So somebody who is already successful, who you want to follow in their footsteps, right? Who's already has success and who's also not only has success, but they're they're in it. They're in the game with
Exactly.
you and helping you and teaching you. Secondly, I would say for finding a mentor is making sure that they're not scared to tell you the truth. You know, there's
Right.
no holding back. That just tells you that they really care and they want you to grow and succeed. So number three would be just making sure that your vision is aligned with each other. You know, making sure that all the boxes in what you want for yourself and for your future aligns with theirs as well. Because if it doesn't, then it's not going to work, right?
Exactly.
It's not
Exactly.
going to work. And just making sure that you vet them, that they're real, because there's a lot of gurus out there that you might think they are, but they're really not. So just make sure you vet and do your due diligence to make sure that they're a real person.
I'm so
Yeah,
glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that because yeah, there's so many scams and just people out here trying to get a quick buck. And
right.
vetting is such an important process to, not only building your education, but just making sure, like you said, you are in alignment with the right people. And thank you for pointing that out, because a lot of people don't know how to get a mentor, or what does a mentor do? Some people offer mentorship for free, some charge, but I like that you gave that breakdown of this is what you should look for in a mentor or a coach or whoever you choose to work alongside with or help you along the way. At what point do you think you caught your stride with investing? And was it after the first deal? Was it as the first deal was approaching, where something clicked? Like, what was that moment for you when things were just like, oh, this makes so much sense, I could keep going?
That's a great question because you can buy all the mentorships you want, but if you don't do anything with it, it's just not going to work, right?
Exactly.
So I would say definitely, since this was all new to me, even going to conferences, I had to learn how to apply what I've all that information, right? You can go to conferences, so much information, like, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed. What do I do? So if you're overwhelmed with information, what happens? Nothing, because
Nothing.
you don't know what to do with it. So I've learned when you go to those types of conferences where so many speakers, you just take, well, this is works for me. So you find your hack. But for me, what I did was just take certain things from the speaker that I took away and then implement it right away when I get home. So I did not learn that until after I invested in my first deal in March. So basically that didn't click in until probably June or July of 2022. So you see how, because it's all about self-development.
Right.
So as long as I kept learning and growing and understanding myself and understanding the business, I'm like, oh, okay, and finding your own hacks, what works for you, what doesn't, what might work for somebody else might not work for you.
Exactly.
So you just got to keep going. And that's one of my favorite models is keep going and don't stop.
Yeah, no, I was actually binging your social media in preparation for this interview, and I noticed you said that in closing, and I was like, that's pretty dope. Like, you should put that on a t-shirt or something.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
I am gonna keep going. I am.
Yeah.
I
Because not
love it.
only if I'm telling the viewers as well, but I'm telling reminding myself too that hey, you gotta keep going, girl. You gotta keep going, don't stop. Because it just
Yeah,
takes that one time, right? Where you're just gonna, if you stop too soon, like they always say, if you stop too soon, you might not you were probably just inches away from where you wanted to be.
right,
Yeah.
right. And I could definitely relate to that. Just letting my own
Yeah.
insecurities get in my way. And that's just as a result of me not really knowing myself, thinking I know myself, thinking this is best for me. Like, even with this podcast, I've been wanting to start this for so long, but I just started it in December 2022.
Oh,
And
nice.
once I accepted it and was like, I'm ready to do this, and I committed fully to it,
Yeah.
it's been just this easeful process. And I'm grateful to be talking here with you as well. And I'm intrigued at your story so far. And I'm just curious to know, like, what's a typical day in the life, if there is one? Because I know you have
Yeah.
family, friends, community, things like that, and investing in 50 plus doors. I'm sure
Yeah.
I don't know if you still work your 9 to 5, but how are you integrating everything, to just maintain in your
Right.
day to day?
So I do still have my 9 to 5 and I do real estate on the side. But you know what they say, it's usually not on the side. It's just as right as another 9 to 5 or even more
It's your
hours that you
five,
put
your
in
five to
yourself.
nine.
Yeah, basically. So my schedule is pretty crazy, but I'm a mom, I'm a wife too. So I would say I use I have a breakdown of what I have to do the next day. So I write it down at night so I can implement it in the morning. And I do that because if I don't, then I will lose track of time and then I just have wasted time. So just a brief, I mean, do you want me to break it down? Like,
Break
because,
it down, because my next
okay.
question is actually like, what is a productivity hack or tip that you can give us? So
Yeah.
break it all the way down. I'm open to hearing whatever
Okay.
you're willing to share.
Sure. So I'm still working on my health. I'm doing my best to get down to where I need to go. And it's a long process, but like I said, you got to keep going, don't stop.
Right.
So what starts out with waking up at 4:30, getting ready for the gym. Then I get to the gym about 5 to 6. A good thing the gym is just about 8 minutes away. I used to drive like 20 minutes, but to save on time, actually not 8 minutes, it's like 3 minutes away.
Oh,
So I
wow.
save on time by driving to the closer gym. So 5 to 6 is workout. Get home about 6:10 and then get ready. Get ready really fast. I have my clothes already set out too from the night
Smart.
before. And then at 6:30 is my first call for our group call with the team, 6:30 to 7. And we just go over what we have to do for the day. And if we have any questions or whatnot, then that's where we do a team meeting. 7 and 8, I do anything from calling, emailing, you name it. Need help on the website for the company, anything, right? I need to do within that hour. 8 to 8:30 is when I'm driving to work and I'm putting an audible book on. So that's my self-development for the day. 8 to 8:30 as I'm driving to work. 8:30, I start work. And then my next.
I'm going to
Mhm.
pause you right there
Yeah.
because first of all, go
Uh-huh.
go you, go you,
Yeah.
because you already listed like 100 million things before 9 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that alone, whether you're a morning person or a night person, waking up at 4 a.m. isn't going to guarantee the success. It's like you said, the mindset, and you are
Right.
committed to this journey. So you
Right.
are willing to do all that to make it all work.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to pause and point that out because your commitment to this process and your lifestyle and maintaining it and your health, first and foremost, most important, because if we don't have health, none of this matters, right?
Yeah.
And that is a journey in itself as well, because we need to be able to walk and talk and breathe and function and, sit at these conferences for long hours of the day,
Right. Right.
without, our legs giving out or whatever the case may be. So, kudos to you for just committing to you first thing, you know what I
Right.
mean? And taking the time, because even if you just walked into the gym and walked out, it's the fact that it's a start, you know what I mean? And
Right.
that sets off and kicks off the rest of your day. And I think it's important to have a solid morning routine. I My morning routine was very chaotic in the beginning, but much like you switch things off. Like I turned the radio off and replaced it with podcasts, audible books, like you said. But yeah, go for it. Or if you don't mind sharing, what book are you reading currently?
Yeah. Great question. It's how not the who. The author. I have it on my phone. I can share that. Did you need the name of it?
I'm looking it up too, but
Okay.
yeah, so by 9 a.m. you're doing all of this, and then you go into work and then you do your due diligence there. Oh, who not how, the formula to achieve.
Oh yeah. Who
Yeah,
not how.
yeah,
Yeah.
who not how, the formula to achieve bigger goals through accelerating teamwork.
By Dan Sullivan.
Dan Sullivan. I'll put a link to that in the description of the episode as well. But yeah, so your mornings are already jam packed, but I feel like
Yeah.
that energizes you because even just you talking about it, like your
Yeah.
demeanor was just like, yeah, and then I do this and I do this.
Yeah.
Because like you said, you can't unsee the numbers.
Right.
It's not all about the money, but it's just more so about your mind and your energy is now open to this new way of living, or even spending money and balancing all of that, especially now, you're new to this whole process. How does your 9 to 5 come into play with all of this? I know, I'm sure you're at work thinking about like
Yeah.
investing in
I
money
have.
in real estate. So do you have plans in the future to make this your career, investing?
Yeah, absolutely. So also during work, you know how the people say, "Oh, I don't have time to do this, do that." You always have to make time, and you'll find time.
Yes.
when you actually are willing to do something, right?
Right.
So like making calls or whatnot, I do that during lunchtime.
Smart.
But yeah, I have a plan to eventually leave my 9 to 5 and do the real estate full time. And it's funny that you said that because I was just going to leave my 9 to 5 just like that with no plan. And that's why it's good to get a mentor. You
Yes.
know, you can ask them questions like this, and I was advised, hey, instead of just leaving, you have to have a actual plan, write it down, and make sure that that you're covered because
Right.
not only it's for you but your family as well. You want to make sure that your family will be taken care of as well too. So yeah, so it wouldn't be as easy for me to leave right now because I have a family, but I would say it'd probably be even easier for like maybe a single person or whatnot. But yeah,
Right. Yeah. And I'm glad your mentor said that as well, because going back to you saying that they should be in alignment with you, they could have easily been like, oh, bring her on,
yeah,
more money for us and for her, this and
yeah,
that. But that doesn't seem like that's their intention. And their intentions seem, and they know, like you said, they have the experience, they know what it's like. This life is like, it's a grind. It's not easy, and it's not for the weak. Like you said, you had to armor yourself, and you spent that $30,000 and continue to spend, I'm sure, on ways to develop yourself and learn and grow. And I'm just glad that they advised you in that, whether you listened or not. I think either way, you seem like a driven person that would have made it work regardless. But I, from my experience as well, having that little bit of reserves and for cushion for those just in case moments, because it's not an easy transition from 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship. Every day seems like a brand new day to me, and I've been doing this for 5 years. And
yeah.
yeah,
I have a question actually because
go
I'm
for it.
always learning and intrigued. So I've never heard of a transactional professional. So can you elaborate more about that or what you do?
Yeah. So transaction coordinator, it's a service provided to brokers and realtors that basically I'm positioned as somewhat of a compliance coordinator as well. So all of the paperwork a buyer and seller have to fill out, sellers when they put their home in the market, they have to fill out all these disclosures. Um, they have to order inspections, preliminary title reports, all of that. So what I do is I come in and I'll help facilitate between the agent and the seller. The agent will say, "Hey, you're gonna have to fill out all of these disclosures." I'm sure they say it a lot more professionally, but just to kind of breeze through it. And I'll send them the documents, and then when they come back, it's my job to kind of scan through it. I can't advise the seller, even if I am licensed, which I am. I can't tell the seller how to fill out disclosures or what to say because one, I don't live there. Two, it's a liability, and then three, I could get terminated or sued, and I don't want any of that. But my job is also to make sure that none of us get sued, or that they are disclosing things properly, legally, ethically, morally. So doing my due diligence as a transaction coordinator, one aspect is auditing of the file, making sure everything is signed and initialed correctly, as well as coordinating inspections. The job can be vast, but it's also based on what you choose to provide as a service. So some TC for short, can review contracts and help fill out contracts as well on behalf of the agent, but they don't negotiate between the seller or the buyer. How much do you want to pay? How much can you afford? It's mostly just follow-ups and maintaining the timeline on a timely manner. And I could go on and on and on about this, but overall, it's just a lot of auditing and compliance checks, from contract to close, and working alongside everyone involved, whether it's the realtor that you work with, communicating with the other agent on the other side, lenders, escrow, buyers and sellers, depending on who you represent, and just making sure everyone is playing their role as a team member, and serving as that third set of eyes to make sure, like, hey, did anyone catch that disclosure? was, there was a missed initial, or the seller said yes, but didn't provide an explanation to this question. Can I send it back to get the explanation? So it's a very nuanced and detailed occupation, but it's one that I can't seem to shake. I've been doing it for a long time. I've worked in real estate since I was 19. But
Wow.
essentially, yeah, so I'm approaching almost 20 years pretty soon.
Wow.
Yeah, next year will be 20 official years of just working different jobs and working within real estate. But yeah, transaction coordination it can be lucrative. It could be a side hustle. It could be a 9 to 5. I started it as a 9 to 5, but for anyone out there, you know, if you're a realtor, or even homeowners that sell the for sale by owners,
Mhm.
to prevent lawsuits and liability, you can also hire a transaction coordinator. Fees can run anywhere between 200 and 1,000. It just depends on what you're doing and what types of services you're providing, but it could range. It's just whatever you negotiate. But that's just one aspect of real estate. And through this podcast is I'm learning from people like you, because that's a world I'm not involved in real estate. Even though I've been working in real estate for many years, I know investors. I've asked them questions, but I want to get deeper into like getting to know the process or the mindset, like you said, of how you got there. And then to not just for my own knowledge, but also for my own courage to one day, maybe this is the route I want to take, or maybe it's not. Whatever the case.
Right.
So yeah, it's not about me. It's all about you, Grace.
No, you're good. I'm
thank,
learning. I'm
thank
learning
you.
something new. So I
Yeah,
love it. I love hearing other people's journeys as well too. Just like
definitely.
about real estate, it's a people business, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to know people, and not just to know them, but you really want to understand where they're coming from, what they need, right? And what they need help with. So that book will be amazing after you read it, because it's after you read it, you're gonna know that you're actually the who and not the how. So
Exactly. No,
yeah.
I believe in that. Yeah, we have so much more power than we give ourselves,
Mhm.
but I think it's the way sometimes how we've grown up or what we're accustomed to, or, you know, even just reframing and reprogramming our brains to be like, what, I am capable of doing these things, even if I don't have experience. Because
Right.
I didn't have experience doing this other job. But
Right.
look at me now. And then now
Right.
I want to do something completely new. If I'm willing to start over while I manage a family, while I manage a job, while I manage my health,
Yeah.
if that's the season you're in, then more power to you. You know what I mean? So I want to talk a little bit about social media and culture. I know it seems kind of different, but it'll make sense in a
Yeah.
minute.
Okay.
So I found you on TikTok. I don't know if that site's gonna be in existence by the time this comes out, or even a year from today. Either way, there was this platform called TikTok, and Grace showed up on my For You page, and I was intrigued. One, because she was speaking so eloquently and confidently about real estate from a perspective that you don't normally see in, the Polynesian Pacifica culture and community. And I was intrigued, and I wanted to learn more just about her journey, and just to speak about investing from her perspective and what that's been like, amongst her family, and, how she's made these business decisions and how she continues to make these decisions. But I want to know just how has culture impacted your career and your business decisions?
Wow, that's a great question. Yeah, so it can have a great impact and also not a great impact. So the reason why I say that is coming from the Samoan, family. Although I was born and raised here in the States, my parents came from Samoa directly to Washington, and they brought their culture with them. So
Yes.
we lived like we were
Samoa.
kids in Samoan, yes.
Yeah.
But I would say the one thing that I take away from our culture is we put others before ourselves.
Yes.
So that saying, I'm going to say the pathway to leadership is through service, right? That's one Samoan proverbs, "Ole ale le pule ole tautua." So once again, the pathway to leadership is through service. And if you look at a lot of our leaders in the Samoan community, they're always serving someone, and it starts at the church.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you know, our viewers are can relate to this, but I've learned at a very young age that we have to, serve the parents, serve the faifau, the reverend. It was always about service. When
Mm-hmm.
somebody came over, we had to serve them water, serve them food. We
Right.
always ate last. We didn't talk. We stayed in the back. We were kind of hidden, right?
Right.
And we,
Relatable. So
yeah,
sorry to interrupt, but for anyone that doesn't know, I'm half Samoan, half Mexican, and that's why I brought up this question because culture and just our mindset is there can, like she said, great, good and bad. But I just wanted to point that out for anyone that did not know my background and my, who I am also.
yeah, that's great. That's great that you pointed that out. And so, yeah, so I would say when I'm looking back at my childhood, it's also the way my parents had raised us as well too. So my dad was very strict. I don't know if we had strict parents. My mom was more the nurturing one, but I would say I get a lot of my work ethic from my father. So he had all girls. So
Wow.
yeah, so we had to do the girls' work and the boys'
And the
work,
boys
right?
are
We had to do the trash, pulling the weeds, mowing the lawn. So he taught us so many things that he didn't want his girls to be dependent on somebody else. He wanted to make sure that we were able to take care of ourselves.
yes.
And so that I would credit to my father for helping me with my work ethic because I can get a little bit overboard with my work and I can just work, right?
Right.
And I'm like, oh no, I got to do this, for my family, whatnot. It's kind of addicting, but at the same time, I'm learning. It's all learning. You're trying to learn what you can do to help you get out of that state of mind and do what you need to do for your family first. So I hope I answered your question.
No, you
Kind of
did.
went off.
You did
Yeah.
because, I love our culture. I love it. And I think just like in any culture or, regard wherever, whatever country one was born in or comes from, there are many lessons that we can take from that. And like you said, work ethic is so important. And I think a lot of us have that ingrained in us from
Yeah.
birth. And
Right.
sometimes, like you said, it's to our benefit, but then at the same time, it's like sometimes we can go overboard because I think the messaging is always, get a good job and take care of your family. But
Yeah.
it's not always get a good job you love,
Hmm.
or get a good job that you're passionate about. Or, it
Right.
sometimes can be limiting on like what we do or too broad. Like, okay, well, now where do I go? What do I do? Like, I got the job, but is this enough?
Yeah.
And then going back to like just the pleasing of like in the service. And, sometimes that can cause insecurities or you just don't know where to stand
Right.
up for yourself or advocate for yourself because for so long we're told like, don't speak up, don't talk back, you know, the
Right.
elders, respect your elders. They know best. And so, I applaud you for, you know, taking matters into your own hand at this point in time and seeing, just exploring and seeing other avenues where you can thrive and, learn and grow and apply what you learned from a young age into this new business. Because I think having strict parents or aunties and uncles or grandparents, whoever raised you, we hate it at the moment.
Yeah.
We hate it and we
Yeah.
want we want to rebel, we want to just be the complete opposite. But it's like it's circulation, it always comes back. It's some way, shape, or form. Like all of that happens for a reason. And as much as we try to shake it or let go of that way of doing things, some parts of it we do need, you know what I
Right.
mean? And I think it's important to acknowledge that and be okay with that part, but
Right.
also remix it to your liking. Because,
Right.
like you said, you have all sisters. You come from this, same household, but it doesn't mean you're all the same. And it doesn't mean you're exactly the same as your parents either. So it's like we're
True.
all individuals, but with the same heart and the same drive and the same, love that brings us forward. But I think
That's
I
so true.
yeah, so we go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like you said, with the love and the culture is, it's funny because if you're Polynesian, you're already know each other.
Yeah.
Like now, it feels like we known each other for forever, but we just met just now, right?
Right.
So it's that's why I feel when you're talking about the love in our people and the service for others. Like we will literally take the shirt off our back or give somebody who is in need, right? Because
Always.
that's just how we were raised and born and how our culture is. And but that's what I love about our people, and not just Samoans, but in general, the Polynesian people, is
Absolutely.
that we all can relate. And if you see somebody at a store or another state that there's usually not Polynesians, of course you're going to track each other. And so yeah, that's what I love about our culture and our people.
Yeah, and I think in business and especially real estate, it could be very cut and dry, it could be cutthroat. And
Hmm.
as I mentioned earlier, just seeing your content on social media and how confidently and eloquently you were just speaking about, like I could just feel like your energy radiating through your posts. And like I said, I was binging through your posts and I was like, I love that you just show up as yourself. I don't know what the feeling was before you hit record because it could be the nerves kick in. What are people going to think? But you just showing up and, whether I knew it or not, I was like, we might be related. So
Yeah.
every time you see someone that looks similar to you or your family, you're just like, you give them the nod, like you said, or you just embrace each other. And that's what I wanted to do when I came across your page. It could have been anyone, I don't know, but I've come across so many different people on my timeline. But your information stood out, and just how you're approaching it is what I want to just continue to promote here and talk about. So, which brings me to the next topic. So we've kind of touched on, but I want to talk about generational wealth. You mentioned this in your bio, but what does it mean to you?
Yeah, generational wealth to me is when I'm gone, my my kids are still reaping the benefits of what I was able to plant for them.
I love
That's generational wealth. Not only, and then also goes beyond that, goes beyond my family, goes on to the people that I'm able to reach and to help educate them from
yes,
what I know. So not only did I invest all that money into myself, it's not only for myself, it's so I can go out there and share it with anybody who's willing to listen, especially to our people, our community.
that that's a gem, people. I don't know if you caught that for those that are listening. Generational wealth, from Grace's point of view, and I agree with you 100%. It's not just attached to a dollar sign.
Mm,
You
yes.
mentioned education because your children may not want to be involved in real estate, but like how you take your father's work ethic, your kids may see like, oh well, I saw my mom get up at 5:30 every day or 4:30 every day, did all these things before 6 a.m. and look at the success she had in her life, monetarily, mentally, spiritually, all of that. It is a ripple effect of impact and influence, and just even just proximity and closeness to that energy. It makes a difference. And like you said, we come from a culture that is of service, so it's like the minute we learn something new, we want to tell the world and shout it out, but
Right.
sometimes we have to take a step back, learn a little bit more, and then shout it out. But I'm just glad you pointed out that generational wealth to you is not just, I want my kids to have $100 million because they could blow that in a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's more like, all right, I taught them how to learn about themselves. I taught them how to, every morning, these are the books I read. That is wealth in itself. It's just the habits and the patterns and the traditions, the new traditions you're creating for your family. I think that's great. So
So,
yeah,
so true.
yeah. So that was, generational wealth for the future. But going back a little bit, we touched on family and growing up. Was money discussed in the household, or was it very much like hush hush, don't talk about it? It's, or whatever you're willing to share. You don't have to
Yeah.
get too personal, but I know how things can get, especially in our culture. There's always a wedding, there's always a funeral, there's always something that we're all contributing to in this giant imaginary pot to support each other. I'm just curious to know, like, what were the conversations in your household that either you hold on to or it's a narrative you want to change?
Yeah. So money was never discussed in your household. My parents were so conservative. They didn't live off of credit cards or
Mm.
anything like that. I did notice that. And they lived within their means. So we didn't eat out, restaurants, any of that. Like we always had a home cooked meal. I always had hand-me-downs for my siblings. I didn't understand it then, but I understand it now,
Right.
right?
Definitely.
Right. So yeah, it was really not a conversation, but I did notice that my parents would always give.
Mhm.
And I think that's another thing in our culture as well too. We're givers. It's just in our DNA. And they always gave to the church and to people that needed help, like, like funerals, weddings. I've seen that growing up all the time. And that was my knowledge of money. It was to give and to live within your means. So yeah, great question.
I love that. Is there anything you would tell your younger self about money that you didn't know then, but you know, what would it be?
Invest right away, invest earlier. If I had known, I started working in my senior year of high school. That's how I started working in my career in my senior year of high school. And I started working when I was 14 and 15, summer jobs. Yeah. So if I had invested then, or even when I was 18, I'll be further along ahead than I was now. But I would say to myself now, as long as I'm doing it now and not waiting, that's the most important thing. It's never too late. But if you have the opportunity when you're young, you young folks listen to this, invest early. Yeah.
Yes, 100% agree. Because, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely it's never too late. Never too late. Because if anything, you grow up, you know, hopefully you're making more money than you were at 18, 19, and you can invest and kind of play a little bit of catch up. But also, like you said, it always goes back to mindset and your relationship with every penny and every dollar coming in and out of your life and your bank account. But
Right.
whew, so this is time went by so fast. Like I could keep going with this, and
Me too.
I love it. We should do a part two, or I'm down to collaborate
Yeah.
on your platforms. But I want to
Mhm.
wrap this up, and definitely, whatever you have to promote, I'll let you shout that out. But for now, you've given us so many keys and just so many gems, and the conversation just flew by and just was flowing with so much ease. But you mentioned legacy. We talked about generational wealth. I want to know, what does legacy mean to you?
Legacy. Let me think about that.
Take your time. Take your time. That's a big
Yeah.
question.
When I leave this world, I would love for people to just know me as person that of love, and that somebody that they trusted, that they can confide in, that they were able to at least learn one thing, right? And was able to share it. So I believe in abundance. So no one should hold any information back
Yeah.
because there's abundance of everything. There's abundance of money, there's abundance of properties, there's abundance of everything. There's abundance of people. You will never run out. And when you have that mindset, you live it a different way. You live free. You don't have to hold back anything. You don't have to have that, what's that, loco leongo? Like you know what I'm talking about? Like, how do you say it in English? Yeah, or regret or
Yeah.
any of that. So that's
No suffering. Like,
yeah, basically.
mhm.
So you just live free. Yeah, I would say that that's legacy for me. in a quick summary.
That's beautiful. Freedom and love. That's all you really need. And
Yeah.
finally, the last question I love to ask my guests is, what is one goal you don't mind sharing publicly that you want to accomplish this year?
Yeah. So in the real estate or personal?
You can give both. I usually
Okay.
just stick to real estate, but if you feel like doing both, go for it. The mic is yours.
Yeah. So personal for sure. I like to touch on health because how important it is.
Yes.
Honestly, I would not be able to go flying everywhere and doing all these masterminds and whatnot if I did not put my health first. So for my personal goal for health would be definitely I'm going to lose another 60 pounds this year. And with that, I hired another coach to help me with that. So nutritional. So I have the working out part. Now I just need to get my eating habits in line and my food nutrition. And then also for my real estate, my goal for this year is to leave my 9 to 5. So those are my two goals.
Yes. Thank you,
Yeah.
Grace. This was amazing. You're welcome
Have fun.
anytime. I'm sure we could have gone a lot deeper, but I really just wanted to just let the people know, introduce you to the world. I wanted to meet you as well, and I figured cheat code, let me get her on the podcast,
Yeah.
we could talk about things and also just represent for our culture in a way that, maybe not doesn't exist as often as like, we are more than just football players and
Right.
wrestlers and things. And those are great occupations. I'm not, who's to say I won't be a WWE wrestler in 10 years? Who knows?
Right.
You never know where life will take you. But what I mean is that it's important for us to have representation in many aspects of of business and careers and health and personal development. So thank you again for sharing your journey and your testimony and just your message with what you're doing, because it's more than just investing in properties. You are choosing to invest in yourself. And, one of my slogans is care for yourself, care for your wealth. And a byproduct of that comes along with your mental health, physical health, spiritual health, all of that. So you've embodied all of that. So I thank you again. So before we close out, I'm going to turn the mics to you again. Tell everybody how they could follow you on social media, get in connection with you, or if they're interested in multifamily investing, how they can learn and either be mentored by your team or you. The floor is yours.
Thanks, Lily. Man, first of all, thank you so much for having me. This was super fun. I'm so glad that we connected.
Definitely.
And there's always a reason for everything. I believe that. So I know this is not the last time we'll have this conversation. And man, you're such a joy to talk to. Like I could do this every day with you.
Oh,
But
I love it.
yeah, definitely I'll invite you to maybe my Instagram live. We'll
Yes.
do one together
I
and
want to do that.
yeah, help educate our people and whoever's out there to listening. So for me, you can follow me on my journey at my Instagram. It's the letter I, then the M, Grace Wilson. So I'm Grace Wilson. Instagram, that's the best way to follow me. In my bio, I have a link tree. You can go there and basically I'm part of a high class, world class team, CS3Investments.com. And you can go there. We have every Wednesday, it's called Infinite Cash Flow Show with Carlos Salguero, who is my mentor and who's helping me with my success and my wealth and everything else. Every Wednesday, it's free. Just come and learn and listen. For anybody who's willing to learn about the multifamily and how to invest or how to look for properties. Like you said, there's different ways of being a part of multifamily real estate. And just to take this one bit of advice is that multifamily real estate I can say it's different from other like flipping houses or duplexes or Airbnb. Multifamily is a team sport. So you're never alone. And that's what I love about it. So you don't have to be an expert in all the subjects. You just have to hone into your skills and your craft into one item. And then that one item basically be a part of the whole machine, right? To make the machine move. So that's just a little bit about multifamily real estate. But definitely follow me for more I'm Grace Wilson on IG, and you can get more information in my link tree, my bio, on how to be part of our Zooms and our network for CS3 Investments and Infinite Cash Flow show. So thank you so much.
That was perfect. Everybody go follow Grace on Instagram, social media. I am Grace Wilson. That's easy. If you're on your phone right now, go hit that follow button, because I think she's onto something. And thank you for sharing your wealth and your knowledge, and I appreciate it. But this has been another episode of Transaction Care, the podcast. My name is Lily Hernandez. New episodes every Monday. Please join my TC community by going to transactioncare.com. And to stream more episodes of the show, go to transactioncarepodcast.com. All of the information is there, and all of the information to get in contact with Grace will also be in the description of this episode, as well as on my websites. So definitely stay in touch with Grace. But until then, I'm giving you the keys. There are no gatekeepers here. Care for yourself, care for your wealth. Your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. Talk soon.